State lawmakers are grappling with the budget and a devastating loss of revenue, which puts the squeeze on local school districts trying to plan for the fall. And according to the Massachusetts Teachers Association, more than 2,000 teachers across the state have received layoff notices. Carolee McGrath spoke with Glenn Koocher, the executive director of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and Jake Oliviera, a member of the National Board and the Ludlow School Committee, to learn more about the tough decisions school committees are faced with.
Well, they're facing a situation they haven't faced anything close to this in over 40 years. They're planning to go back to school without knowing what the classrooms are going to be looking like or how much money they're going to have to finance the school budget for next year. We don't have a state budget. We don't have a federal budget. We have a lot of stuff that's in question, and they're trying to get organized so that they can have a successful school opening.
Jake, what are you seeing in Western Massachusetts? I know that there are different school districts that are reporting, positions that will have to be cut from the Berkshires to Westfield. What are you seeing out here?
I would just echo Glenn's comments. The amount of uncertainty that school districts are facing right now, and municipal budgets are facing such great uncertainty as well. When we look at the state budget, so use Ludlow as an example, nearly 50% of our budget comes from the state in the form of Chapter 70 state aid. Many communities that are heavily reliant on state aid, like Springfield and Chicopee and Holyoke, that uncertainty is compounded because they really don't have any control over those funds coming in. So it's really waiting on the state and the federal government at this point to find out what those budget numbers are going to be. But here in Ludlow, we were already facing a budget shortfall even before COVID-19 hit our country and hit the world. We cut nearly $1.1 million out of our budget about a month ago, and some of those cuts were very difficult. A lot of those cuts were very difficult. This is probably the most challenging budget year that school committees and municipalities are facing since the Great Recession in 2009, 2010, 2011. So the uncertainty makes it very difficult for all of us to budget.
Once the state does come up with their budget, I know there's an interim budget that it's being looked at for the month of July as the state waits on federal aid as well. Once that happens, do school committees go back and kind of redirect and kind of relook at what they've planned for September? So kind of everybody's in limbo until that's solidified?
We're hoping that budgets will be submitted with an additional list of those items that are going to be reinstated if additional money shows up, in case they have to get their budgets in prior to a deadline. Under the current law, if a budget's not in by a certain time to the town meeting, then the municipal side gets to set the budget, and that's just not going to work. So we're hoping that additional money will come in once the state is settled. We're looking at the potential of a fourth round of COVID funding, reimbursement, stimulus, whatever it is. And we've talked to Congressman Neal's office on this, and the House is not giving up hope that such a bill can be enacted to provide additional money. So there may be enough money left to provide some of what they have on wish lists that may not have made it into the main budget. In the meantime, you've got a lot of teachers who've been given layoff notices because if you don't give them a layoff notice by June 15th, you have them for the next year, whether you have the money or not. And that creates even more fiscal chaos.
And obviously those teachers can be hired back if the budget comes out a little bit better than people are expecting.
They can be hired back if they don't go to another school district and get another job.
And what are you hearing from teachers and parents regarding that, Jake? Because obviously, a lot of teachers live in the town of Ludlow. A lot of teachers live in the towns and cities, where they work as well. And obviously, parents are concerned about what next year is going to look like. What are you hearing from parents?
Well, again, I'm hearing from parents and from teachers the uncertainty that still exists. I mean, no matter when we return in the fall, I think there's been more questions that we're hearing right now, less on the budget side and much more what the fall semester and what the academic year is actually going to look like. Those are the questions that we're receiving from parents. And it's a spectrum that we see. We see parents that say, they don't feel safe sending their students back to school unless there's a vaccine. And then on the other end, we see parents, that are saying and contacting the school district saying, we need to return back as soon as possible. But with any of these discussions, and you look at the wider picture of our economy, we can't really fully restart our economy until kids are back in school in an in-person classroom setting.
And when you're talking about schools reopening this fall, I know there's hybrid models and a bunch of different things on the table, but you also have personal protective equipment that school districts will have to pay for. How is that going to be managed? And what are you hoping from the state or federal government to cover that?
There are some sources that the school districts and municipalities are working on tapping. Some of it may come from FEMA, some of it may come from one of the previous bills, and some of it may come from other sources. But basically, the community could be on the hook for a lot of these services and supplies. And it's been estimated by the American Association of School Business Officers, who are a reliable group of people on this matter, are suggesting that it could cost an average of about $1.4 million per district to have masks, ventilators, other supplies that school districts may need for protecting everyone that needs to be covered.
So $1.4 million, what would that mean to Ludlow, Jake?
Oh, we cut $1.1 million out of our budget already. We have, a little bit shy of a $40 million budget. It would be devastating to school districts. And one thing that school committees have shown power in the past of doing is passing resolutions and putting themselves on record in support of additional funding from the state. There was an effort led by our colleagues over at the Amherst School Committee, and it's been circulated around, and dozens of school districts have passed resolutions that said this is another unfunded mandate coming from the state, and we need help paying for it. As Glenn mentioned before, there could be some sources of funds, including the first round of the CARES Act funding that had some set-asides in there, but school districts can't be on the hook on average of about $1.4 million. It would be devastating to our budgets. So state support, federal support are necessary to make sure that our school districts are equipped with the proper protective gear for our teachers, our staff, and of course, our students and their families.
Some people might look at this, Glenn, and say, hey, listen, if you do have some form of remote learning, and a lot of parents now are going to be continuing as teachers at home, it's hard to justify positions or additional funding. A lot of people might say, hey, listen, let the kids stay home and let the parents pick it up. How do you respond to that?
Well, the parents have to work, and the parents have been at home with the kids because some of them have been laid off and some of them are working from home until the pandemic restrictions are lifted. So it's really not viable to keep the kids at home unless you want to homeschool a child, which a small percentage of parents elect to do. The challenge is going to be that the school needs to be reopened. There's nothing that takes the place of a good teacher in front of a classroom full of kids who are interacting, getting the social experiences that they need, especially at the younger level, so that they can grow and become successful students. The social media at home, remote learning is okay in an emergency. It's not a long-term solution.
And Jake, what are you expecting for the fall? I know it's a big wait and see for school committees and budgets and teachers and parents, but I guess what's your message to people as we kind of wait to see what happens?
Stay tuned. I can tell you from our perspective, our districts are working extraordinarily hard to prepare for any release from the state as far as what direction the fall semester is going to go in. But I couldn't agree more with what Glenn said before. You got to remember, our students have been home already for a significant amount of time. We're moving into the summer season where they're also going to be out of the classroom. That's almost 6 months without classroom experience. What I worry about most are the social and emotional needs of our students when they do return to the classroom. And social and emotional needs and the wraparound services we need to provide for them are expensive to districts, but they're essential to actually educating our students. So as we look towards the fall, we're going to need to strengthen whatever supports we have for our students to ensure that they're getting a quality education.